recording is in progress. Do you guys hear that? Thumbs up. So you hear that recording? Yeah, fantastic. Okay, great. All right, so let's start. Today we are doing goal setting, which leads really nicely on to where we left off last week regarding planners, time management, recognizing where we spend our time. So I have a bit of a confession to make, actually, and those of you who know me well are going to open your mouths and drop your cup of tea. So last week I was talking to you. Remember last week we were still at the 30th of December. We'd not clicked over to January yesterday, and I had my planner set out and I knew exactly what my plan was. So I had my usual planner for my art and all of my everything relating to art, essentially. So the Organised Artist and Alison Lake. So I had this set up, and then I had this little A6, which, let me just take it out of its cover because I want you to see how small it is. I had this little A6 set up as my handbag carry. So it kind of just had work and tracking and just, you know, personal kind of stuff. I chunked my time out in here so I knew where I was spending my time. Let me tell you, my system completely failed. I got so overwhelmed with it. This, excuse my language, was just giving me the shits. I'm like, it's so big. Even if I leave it sitting beside my chair, I'm flipping pages and it's like this. I think it got to day 4 and I might have said to Vicky, this isn't working for me. But I wanted to tell you guys this because best laid plans, right? I was super organized, but when reality came to use it, it didn't work for me. So my friends, this is it. This is what it's going to be this year. And it is working an absolute treat. It's tiny, size of my hand, and I have small hands. It's tiny. It's A6. So it's really small. This is what I'm doing. So if you remember last week, I told you monthly calendars don't work for me. I'm using the monthlies in here. And literally I'm using them and highlighting like school holidays when I've got to do things. So newsletter, you know, all of this kind of stuff I'm putting here on my monthly page. So that's December. This is January. And then it's got this really cool little section at the front, which I'm not really sure what you're supposed to use it for, but I decided I'm using it for tracking. So I'd already done that for December, but now I'm doing it more so in January for, you know, posting on the Organised Artist, on Alison Lake Art, when I'm sending out my newsletter. I'm doing a 5-year journal, so I'm still doing those, and I'm actually still doing 2 and loving that. And then also when I'm spending time in the Insider Studio. So I'm tracking where I'm spending my time. Then I've got my monthly commitments that I just showed you before. And then this little girl, it's a daily. So that's yesterday, that's today. So literally, you'll laugh. Let me show you this, because this is how my mind works. And those of you, you know, I started off with a stencil going, this is going to be fun. I'll just stencil every day. Well, that was on Tuesday. By the time it got to yesterday, can you see that? The stencil's being kicked to the curb. I ain't got time for that. So literally, this is it. So chunk out my time, my to-do list, what I'm posting. So I've now moved this over here. So what I'm posting on my 2 social pages. At the front of January, it's got a blank page which says coming up January. And I've just listed out my social media strategy there. And I've listed out the goals that I want to do there, which have come off my goal planner, which I'll show you we're going to move into shortly. And I'm keeping track of my social media followers down the bottom there for January. So when I get to February, and there is a little page like that at the start of each month, when I get to February, the paper in this is so thin. It's beautiful Tomo Rivo paper, which holds watercolor beautifully. Danny, I think you've painted in yours, haven't you? And so when I get to February, it's again got February coming up. So this is literally like any of your, it's just a bog standard planner. It's just, this is a small one and it's working fantastically for me. I have it in a little zip cover. So it, let me just take the bits out. It literally just slips inside of here and that's it. Like that, my friends, is it. So I wanted to show you that best laid plans can change if they don't work for you. Make planning and time management whatever it needs to be so that you make it work for you every day. This is so much better because I now carry it with me. It sits beside my chair. I can easily see. I am still color coding my tracking with my dot markers, just my highlighters, which I still love because I can see when I've got something coming up and when I've not done something, which is the purpose of tracking. And I track whether I do something, well, mostly when I'm doing something. So for example, my newsletter for me goes out every Thursday night. Every Thursday in the newsletter column, there should be a little gray square, which if we flick back to December, you can kind of see my newsletters were interspersed there in the green. I've actually changed colors over here because I've made these colors match my goal setting, just for ease of my brain, to be honest. All right, so moving along into goal setting. So I added those pages up a week or so ago, and so I am using a yearly, I'm using a weekly, I am using a monthly planning page, and I'll talk to you about this in a minute because this is a really interesting exercise to do. I've thrown a to-do list in here because often when you start doing something, it reminds you that you need to do something else. Or if I'm here talking to you guys and you want something, then I can throw it on here and put it into my diary accordingly. And then I've got my 2 pages of January goals, and that's where we're ultimately getting to. But my yearly page sits at the very front of my binder, and this is my big, hairy, scary goal for the year. So this is sell 100 pieces of art, and to do that, I need to do 4 launches. All right. So my big goal is sell 100 pieces of art. So I need to break that down because I'm not going to sell them all in one launch. I mean, I could, maybe not. But for me, it's more manageable to break them down. So if I break those down into 4s, and actually I love the way, quite by accident, I'll be honest, that I set this up with 2, right? Because with a launch, when you're launching on 1 month, you actually start, sorry, my fan's blowing the page. When you've got your launch on 1 month, then you start talking about it on the month before. So what I've got written here, and I put photos of these up. So if you can't see it well there, go and have a look. I posted these up last night, my time, so earlier this morning, your time. So I am going to do a launch on the 6th of February is when my sale is going to start. And I'm going to sell 20 pieces, and it's going to be on paper, and it is my Broken Hill Gardening Club girls. And that's 20 pieces. So if I'm launching that on the 6th of February, I counted back 4 weeks. I need to start talking about them and showcasing them subtly across my Alison Lake Art social media page on the 9th of January. So that gives me a good solid 30-day lead up, right? Now it's not every day. And my strategy this year for Alison Lake Art is to post every 4 days. So I am posting on that page on, just going to give you those days actually, because I know some of you are going to ask. So on my Alison Lake Artist page, I'm posting on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, only 4 times a week. And I'm doing it consistently at the same time on only those 4 days of the week. My Organised Artist page, I'm going to commit to posting daily on that page because I know so many of you guys get such a lot of value out of that. And while I'm trying to grow that page, it makes sense to post daily. So I'll start talking about my launch on my Allison Lake Art page 4 weeks before my sales date, which takes it to, so launching on the 6th of February, start talking about it on the 9th of January. So when I'm planning out my posts for the week, I need to take that into consideration. So that's what my posts need to be about. And then come April, because I'm like, I don't want to do them too close together, and I've got to be mindful in April, there's Easter. So, okay, I need to go after April. I'm going to do 38 by 10 canvases, which I've got here. Most of them are gessoed, ready to go. So 24th of April, I'm going to launch those, and they will be, so I'll start talking about them at the end of March, the 27th of March. So what that means is between the 9th of January and the 6th of February, Allison Lake Art is going to be one launch. And then I've got other stuff that I can fill those posts with. Then come the 27th of March to the 24th of April will be my next collection. I have no idea what that's going to be yet. I need to seriously think about that. But it will be 38 by 10 canvases. Then I've got another one on the 12th of June, which I'll start talking about in the middle of May, and then which is 25 pieces on A4 paper. So A4 paper, for me, is the easiest way to get art out into the world in a standard 11 by 14 mat to you guys, where you can just put it in a, you know, an off-the-shelf type frame. And we'll have a chat about that, about how do you know what you should be painting, and how do you know the size, and how are you going to get your art out into the world? It's a really interesting exercise. I'd love to know how some of you, particularly international outside of the US, have you worked out what your sweet spot is between the cost of postage and then the cost of the piece of art to sell? So that's a bit of a science, and it's really interesting to do that exercise, and I think it's worthwhile for us to do. Although many of you that are in the Insider Studio, I know that Amanda will be talking about that as well coming up. So, and she has a great philosophy around pricing and postage. But again, she's just in the US. So those of us that are international kind of face a different challenge. September and October have got 2 green lines that say travel. I ain't selling anything, I'm traveling. And then because my market is predominantly USA and Canada, I've got Thanksgiving in November and then Christmas in December. So I blocked those out first. So it meant that I had to sell 100 pieces of art by the time we got to the end of August. So it was like, how am I going to do that? Oh my Lord, what am I thinking? But when I mapped it out, it's actually very manageable. So think about that big, hairy goal, and a sales goal is really cool to map out like that, you know, around how many pieces you want to do or how many collections you want to get out, and what does that look like when you actually plan it out across the year. So now I can block those dates out in my calendar. So they're set in concrete. That's how I'm going to tackle that goal. Before I move on to my January goals, the other thing I needed to do is I needed to figure out what takes up my time. How much time in a day do I have dedicated to achieving these goals, right? Because it's all very well setting these goals, but you've actually got to have the time to be able to put the action into place so that you actually achieve these goals. So I got the weekly planner. And again, this page is posted, and I'm sorry, the light coming in that window, but it's just literally the weekly planner. And every day I put down what my commitments were. So for me on a Monday, a WFH is a work from home day. So I book club, open studio with Insider Studio, then I work, and then from 5 to 6:30, my daughter goes to the gym. So for me, and you can see now clearly why getting up at 4:30 for me is the time I need to get up in the morning to paint. Like I had to learn to do that, to carve out that time for myself. Tuesday is a fairly quiet day. It's literally just work. Wednesday, I've got Insider Studio. It's usually a class, and then I work, and then Emmy's got gym. Thursdays work. Friday is work and gym, and then Saturday morning, my time. So I have this Zoom at 7 a.m. and then Emily goes to the gym at 8:15, but Ian takes her, so I don't have to worry about that. And then Sunday, I've got paint along. So that was my commitments on a piece of paper that happen week in, week out. Essentially, they don't change. Then I thought, let me see, what does that look like? If I was to give each one of these a color code, what does that look like, right? Now, those of you who know me well know I talk in terms of return on investment, right? Return on investment is not necessarily about money, it's also about time. So where am I spending my most time and what is my return on investment for that? Because it's where I'm spending that time could potentially be painting time, right? So really interesting. Those of you that have looked at it hard, can you see where I spend most of my time? Inside a studio, right? Every day I am in the Insider Studio, which makes sense, right? Because I'm on Amanda Evanson's Sparkle Squad. So I am in that group for at least 45 minutes to an hour every single day. So that's a lot of time. And I need to go, is that time serving me well? And I'll be honest, it is serving me well because I get to network with the most amazing community. So it is serving me well, but it makes me question that, right? It's like, is that time actually serving me well? So I'd love you guys to do this exercise, and many of you will have different memberships. Give them a different color, right? And have a look at where you're spending your week. Likewise, if you're considering taking on a new class or, a new membership, a new lesson, like, when am I going to commit to doing that? How does that fit into my month? Does that fit into my month? Or what's going to need to change so that I can make that work? So it's a really interesting exercise about how you're spending your time, and don't overcommit yourselves. So I'd love to see you guys color code where you're spending your time. And I think would be quite shocked. What I haven't done here, and to be honest, I'm going to time myself this week. I would really love social media scroll on this, because for me, it's huge, right? I get those reports on my phone that tell me how long I've been on my phone on average every day. And admittedly, some of that is work. Most of it's not. So I'm actually going to consciously track how much time I spend on the social media scroll this week. And I'm going to come back to you next week. I think it will be shocked, or I will be shocked. And I challenge you guys to do the same, right? Be mindful about where you're spending your time, because you've got to figure out how you can get those jobs and that are going to get you closer to your goal setting. So also in my January month, as I said, I've got just a blank to-do list, which for me, I just jot down things all the time. They will go straight from there onto my planning list, and then I'll allocate those accordingly. So January goals, into what we're really talking about today, January goals. Now I wanted to have 4 goals, plus remember I've got my big, hairy, scary goal of 100 pieces to sell as well. So I've got to be working on that. And I dedicate my paint along time when we catch up, which for me is basically 24 hours time. I dedicate that time a lot to painting my collection, because I get so inspired when I'm with you all. And, I just love that time. I do my most productive painting during that time. I think it's the paint and chat. But so for me, my January goals, and again, I posted those, so go and have a look. Not all the tasks are set up for each, but I just, put down the main things. And there may be more. And I'll be honest, some of these won't be completed in January, and some of those will move across, but at least I can see the traction that I've made on the goals in January. So my first goal is to set up a website. So I want to do a WordPress website, and I want to integrate my email system that I'm using. And I also want to publish script and attachments that I'll be using for my podcast when I launch that. I want to house those on there as well. So the action steps I've got to take, so I've got to set up Bluehost. I've done that. I've got to set up WordPress. Essentially, I've done that. And I've got to add the plugins, and that's where I'm up to. So what are we? We're at the 7th of the month, and I've kicked a couple of goals on that step already. So I'm feeling pretty happy about that. I have got a goal date on that of the 31st of January to be achieved by. Possibly a bit ambitious, but we'll see how we go. I've actually struck a technology issue where I do my work on my company provided laptop because it's the latest whiz bang, but the company firewall doesn't like Bluehost. And I'm like, do I ring our IT and ask them to let me in? And then they're going to go, what are you doing? Or do I clean off another laptop that we've got here and use that, which is actually what I've decided to do. Yeah, less work knows about it, probably the better. So the second one is, and I've put some figures around the second one, I wanted to grow my email subscription list by 200 people. Now, I put a number around that because if you refine things to a number, you can then keep a track of it, as opposed to grow my email list, right? I actually put a number around that. So now I've got some parameters. I can go in each day and I can see how many people subscribe. Now, how am I going to do that? They're not going to do that on their own, right? They're not just going to go, oh, geez, I might just go and subscribe to that newsletter. Friends, it doesn't work that way. So I have to start talking about it. So I know that I have to take some of that time that I spend on the social media scroll and spend it on my own social media, taking to lives, taking to video, talking to people, and letting people know to go and join the waitlist, to go and subscribe to my newsletter. I've got an Instagram guide that I've revamped and put up there. I've got to tell people about it because if I don't, they don't know. So how am I going to grow my email list by 200 people? I need to start talking about it on lives, and I need to start talking about it on my social media. So, and how am I going to do that? So I'm going to use the skills that I've learned along the way when I was building my email list, or the platform that I'm using for my emails, which I'm going to talk to you about coming up very soon, actually. It's very cool. I love it. So I'm going to have a chat to you about it. And then, as I said, I need to start taking to social media more. So I put that page up there. So then in January, I've also got to start a podcast. So this is an interesting one for me, completely outside my comfort zone. And I have no idea what I'm doing or how to go about it. So this is where I've been spending quite a bit of time researching, learning, taking to YouTube, learning what I can find out through podcasts, all sorts of things. So how am I going to start a podcast? Like, it's all very well to put that down, but because I know nothing about it, I need to write down the actionable steps. So I need to get the gear. So I researched over a number of different people and figured out what I wanted, and basically went and bought them for myself and told my husband, Merry Christmas, you've bought my Christmas present. Thank you very much. So I have the microphone, the boom arm, and the headset all ready to go. So literally now I could go. I just have to figure out how to do it. So I've got to learn the process and the programs. I've got to commit time to recording. I've got to commit time to editing. And then I've got to upload it to a system that will send it out to all the podcast channels. So essentially that's the process for doing it. So why am I doing a podcast? So for me, it's about growing my membership to the Organised Artist when the doors open again. And it's learning how to do everything that's required and getting a great skill. It's also about connecting with people when I travel. I really, really am committed to podcasting as we travel around America, and I'd love to interview and spend time with so many of you and just chatting. And so people that aren't able to catch up with us can follow our journey. So Vicky and I have spoken about that. So I basically need to get my act together on podcasting pretty damn quickly is where we're at. And in January, I'd set a goal to record 5 episodes and to have them ready to upload. So with podcasting, you don't just upload one at a time. They suggest when you start that you get a number of them in the hopper and get them all up at the same time. So people can start binging, they get to know you, they get to know what you're talking about. Interestingly, I did an exercise about how do you know whether you should have a podcast or not? And they gave you 3 minutes and you needed to write down everything you could talk about on the topic. So for me, it was essentially everything we do in the Organised Artist. And I got to 16 in 3 minutes, 16 topics or titles for podcasts. They said if you struggle to get to 3, potentially you should find something else to talk about. So I figure I'm not going to have an issue talking about, I don't usually have an issue talking anyway, let's be honest. And then I have another one, which I literally just set this week. I set it on the 4th, so a few days ago. And that is, I completely revamped the Instagram guide that is attached in the program. And I'm going to put the new guide up for you guys as well, because I've revamped what 2023 looks like around consistent engagement, connectivity, and community. So I've revamped and tweaked those bits slightly to reflect what 2023 should look like on Instagram. The tips in it are essentially the same, and the artist statement is the same, but there's just a little bit of language that's changed throughout. So I'm going to go and add that to this file, and I'll call it Updated Instagram Guide. So feel free to go and grab that. So I want to sell 100 of those in January. So I am selling those to people that aren't on the course. So what I've done is people who join my waitlist will get a thank you response for joining my waitlist. And while you wait, why don't you start tidying up your Instagram? And there's a link to purchase the Instagram guide. All right. So you're thinking about how to monetize everything along the way. It's been a massive learning curve for me. And as I learn this, I look at so many of you guys that are on this call, and I'm excited about what I've learned in a really short time and how you guys could use this to up level to the next step. And I really want to talk about that when we start talking about the email platform, because this is how I've done it through a free platform. So we'll talk about that once we get into the email side of it. But anyway, back to this goal, which was sell 100 Instagram guides. And how am I going to do that? Essentially, I've got to talk about them, right? People don't know they're there if I don't talk about them. So putting this down on paper is like, girl, it's the 7th of the month. Have you done a live? No. Have you been on video talking? No. What have you been doing, right? So it was an actual realization for me. People are going to find me if I don't start talking about it. And it's the same with you guys. You need to start talking about what it is your goals are to make them happen. So I need to start taking to lives. I need to do social posts. I need to share across my channels. And essentially, I just need to start talking about it. So they are my 4 goals plus my big, hairy, scary goal that I've got going on in January. And then as I work through my daily, the tasks I write down literally coincide with those. And I just put this in a ring binder because I really wanted to see these. So I've just put them in a ring binder. The other thing I threw into the ring binder, and actually Maya, I think you gave me this inspiration when I was looking at your flip through of your ring binder. I've put just a plastic sleeve in there. And the reason I've done that is because, you're along the way and you might write a note about a book that you've seen. Vicky, sorry, I've sent you a gazillion art book references this morning. Stop the scroll. I need to stop doing that, right? But even things like playing with a color palette. What does that look like? Pop it in your January. It's going to be fun to look back on. Just little bits and pieces that you might collect from the art store or classes. If you jot them on a note and pop them in your pocket, then you can go back and look. So I actually have a pocket in January and I have a pocket in February because I've pretty much populated February, not that I've written on the pages, And my January goal pages will kind of lead over into February, because I'll be honest, I don't expect that I can do all of that in January, but if I don't put it all down there, I'm like a rudderless ship. I'm all over the place. Now I know where my focus has to be. And you know what? At the end of January, I can go, I gave that a red hot go. What did I achieve? What could I have done better? What am I going to do better next month? And then that sets the steps for my February goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off Speaker View now and put you all back onto gallery, and let's open up. Let's do a Q&A. Let's open up. I'm going to keep the recording going. If you want to blur your background or turn your camera off if you'd rather not be on video for the Q&A, now's the time to do that. But I'm going to remove the spotlight, and feel free to ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about goal setting. Let's chat. We've got roughly 25 minutes, half an hour, as long as you guys want. And let's go for it. So now if you change to gallery view, you will see everybody that is in here on gallery view. It's nice to see all your faces. Remember, if you want to ask a question, just come off mute. So has anybody got anything to ask? Okay, hi, Vicky.
Hi there.
Vicky, before you start, would you like to give a quick intro, tell people who you are and where you are, and then ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Okay, my name is Vicky. I live in a tiny town west of Toowoomba. So for you that aren't in Australia, it's kind of the start of what you consider our outback, where you think of our red dirt and so on. So I live in a tiny town. We're now 2,000. I've been fortunate with my art career to have quite a few different experiences. So I've had some exhibitions and things like that. And this year I'm focusing on surface design. So I, in the past, have been commissioned to do artwork for boxes for shampoos and things like that. So I have done merchandising art that way. So that's my focus for this year. So my couple of questions, I had two questions. I've been writing them down, Ellie. On your 5-year journal books,
yes,
are you writing, I know it's an everyday thing, are you writing what you want to achieve, what you have to do for the day, or what you did achieve?
No, I'm literally just keeping a track of the journey. Hang on, I'm just going to, Angela, I'm just muting you. Oh, sorry,
okay.
Vicky.
You're right.
So no, I'm writing as I go along, just snippets of information. My art journey particularly is more about, if I'm looking at a particular color I want to add into my palette, I'm noting that down there. I'm noting my palette choices. I'm noting my collection ideas. I'm noting how many followers I've got on my pages. I'm noting anything that when I get to this day next year, what am I going to find interesting to look back on? Like, it's going to be really interesting to watch how my journey changes over that 5 years, how my focus changes. You know, are there other classes I want to look at, and why? And then if I take those classes, how does that impact my art journey? So it's literally just documenting my art journey as I find interesting. And to be honest, I do it at the end of every day, because it's quite interesting to reflect back and go, oh, actually, that colour I really like. Sure about it. But you know what? I might jot it down, because I might come back and reference it later. So, yeah.
Yep. And thank you for that. And I had another question. Do you put your monthly diary entries on your Cube monthly one onto that wall calendar? Because I did buy that wall calendar for that you recommended. Thank you. And I got a couple of printed. So yes. Do you put that on there as well?
Yes, and I've not done that yet. So what I am actually going to do is the very first thing I will be doing is this. So I will be color coding my days of my sales, and then I will be color coding in a different day the lead up to those sales.
Yeah.
All right. And then I don't like, to me, they are going to be sales calendars and project calendars. So one is going to be
Okay.
for sales and one is going to be for my goals. So on the other one will be things like launching my podcast. And then the days that I need to block out to record and those sorts of things, and then they'll
Yep.
go in. So one is literally art launches and everything involved in all of that. And I've literally got them over there on the side of my desk there, one under the other. One's more of a scribble, write on, keep a track of the year. The
Yep.
other one is art launches and the lead into.
Not a problem.
Yeah, or other launches and the lead into, right? So some of you
Yep.
might be thinking about websites. Some of you might be thinking about podcasts. Some of you might be thinking about other things as well. It's great to track launch date and then what that lead in looks like, because then you know where you're spending your time and where your commitment has to be as well.
Yep. Yep, lovely, thank you. And
Yeah.
just one more question. In the past, I've got a normal diary now, but I've also used Michael Hyatt's diaries. So he's Full Focus, and you've probably seen them, Ali. And they narrow down, they're quite intense to your 3 month per, like each book is, like that's 1 quarter.
Yeah.
That's not a year, that's a quarter. So I was just wondering, have you ever used anything like that? And have you related that? Because the issue I have with that is, like on your monthly ones in a normal diary, like even if you want to put birthdays in, for that one, you're only focusing on that quarter goal setting. And I've used them quite successfully, but that's the only downside I've found of them. Have you used that and related that to your?
Vicky, I've got to tell you, over my 30-something year of sales and marketing, I think I have done every single day timer, time planner, goal setting, time management course that pretty much walked this earth. And look, I've used a lot of planners. I've bought a lot of planners and goal focused, diaries and things. I like my own. I think, to be honest, I sometimes feel hemmed in by too many gaps that they want me to fill in. And then if I don't fill them in, I feel like I'm failing.
Yes, I agree.
And that's, as a type A personality, with high aspirations and ambitious, you don't want to be fighting with your planner to get a case of the guilt, right? Which is why, when I'm just writing those down, it's achievable for me. There's nothing there that I have to fill in that fits their box if it doesn't serve me. And then I don't feel like I'm failing. Look, it's just, human psychology. Trust me, the amount of money and time that I have spent on planning systems, including the one that I've just set up in here, and I just don't feel like I'm going to use it now.
Yep.
I just, when you have a lot on the go and you're doing a lot, you just want to liberate yourself to be, to do what works for you and not be bogged down by systems.
Yep. No, thank you.
Yeah. But, if you've got it, use it by all means. But think about how you would do your own as well. If you were to change that and start with a blank page, what would that look like if you set up your own?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be interesting exercise, actually.
No, it would be, especially with using a lot of their stuff in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, you've got your hand raised. Thanks, Vicky.
Yeah,
thanks.
Along those same lines, I know that you have the written planners because you love the handwriting aspect, the fountain pen work and whatnot. I have set my calendar up and I'm taking notes, but I'm already feeling, and I'm only on like 3 pages in,
that you got paper.
That I keep on feeling like I'm gonna miss information. Like I wrote something down, but then I'm like 3, 4, 5, 10 pages in, and I'm like, am I gonna go back and look at what I wrote down a week, a month ago? And so I was wondering, do you have anything?
Digital planning, Alex, at some point you were doing digital?
That's what I wanted to ask you. If part of your planning also involves either scanning information in that you have on paper into an app like Notability that has handwriting recognition to make it searchable. Because I feel like I'm writing all this info down, but I'm gonna, forget it, miss it. And
Yeah.
what's your experience with that?
And yes, so I have a highlighter with me everywhere I go. And if there's something I don't want to forget that I'm writing down, I'll either circle it or I'll highlight it as I go, and then I'll go back and reference. So Alex, I feel your pain. I am a serial note taker, and it comes from the job I do. And I'm laughing because I have seen Amanda Lutby come up on my screen. She's the same. She is a serial note taker. We both have a very similar career. So, when you have pages and pages of notes, how do you manage that? And I'll be honest with you, I don't scan everything in. I scan the pages where I've got a highlighted circle or a highlighter, or I'll just put that straight into, if it's something I've got to do, I'll just put it on my master to-do list. Now, my master to-do list is still in my ring binder. So I am actually going to, there's at the back of the Hobonichi, these little ones, there's a heap of blank pages, and I'm actually going to bring my master to-do list into the very back set. Oh, the first one is art supplies to buy. Yeah, fancy that. And then, the next few pages are all blank. So I'm going to bring that over to there.
And what do you use when you say you don't scan all the pages in, but some that have a highlighter? Like, what app do you use?
I will often scan them in and just save them into a folder on OneNote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I use.
I use Notability because I'm on
Yeah.
a Mac, and I think OneNote is Microsoft,
No.
but
Yeah,
Okay.
OneNote is Microsoft, pretty much the same. Do I do it very often? No, because I'm lazy, Alex, to be honest. Do I do it that often? Not particularly. I will often at the end of the week look back on my notes, because what often seems important to remember at the time potentially isn't.
okay.
And look, to be honest with you, it's the reason I wanted to record, and I was really passionate about recording these sessions, is that I wanted to liberate people from taking notes. I wanted people to be able to participate and then go back and go, what did she say about? And then come back and look. Yeah. But
Okay.
I feel your pain, because I am a serial note taker. In fact, everybody that works with me laughs. Nobody take notes because they know I've got them.
Yeah. No, and I love it. I love getting notebooks and pens and whatnot, but I have a whole box of notebooks that go back from when I first started with art and even photography. And I look back now and I feel like I have to scan it all in, the good info in those pages where I'm like, oh, if I had just typed it into my computer, I could do a word search for a certain topic.
Yeah, so
and it would be right there.
do with those? Because I look at my morning pages and I take great delight in burning my morning pages. I know some people
Maybe I should just get
collage
rid
with
of
them.
it.
I think Maya might collage with some of hers. So yeah.
Thank you
You
so
can
much.
photocopy them in collage. Yep. I wouldn't necessarily use them directly because of the paper you're writing them on, but yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. Have you ever tried using Rocket Books?
Rocket.
I have one.
Well,
I
that
bought
takes
it
all my
because-
stuff to my computer, so you
Yeah.
don't have to scan.
Yeah, I have the book and I got the little erasable friction pens, but I don't like the way it feels to write down on it. Usually I will take an iPad photo of a page and I import it directly into Notability or GoodNotes, mostly Notability nowadays, just in a folder that I call art.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have the Rocket Books.
I just like the Rocket because it's spiral and I can write in it just like I do a regular notebook, and it's there
Yeah.
in my computer.
I like that idea, Johnny. I'm actually writing that down. I might have to investigate and give it a try. Thank you. Yeah, be interesting. I'm not sure who had their hand up first, Kim or Amanda, but Kim, you're the first on my screen. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
It was Amanda. Let her go first.
Oh, okay. Hey, Amanda.
Hi,
Neighbour.
hi
Hi, neighbour.
everyone. How do I lower my hand? Oh, there we go. So my question, yes, and I am a note taker. Okay, just during this call, I already
Can you
have.
just stop for a minute? Can you introduce yourself? And Alex, I forgot to get you to introduce yourself. So after Amanda, I'm going to flick back because this is all part of getting to know each other as well. Okay. So
Yeah, for sure.
Amanda, introduce yourself first.
Yeah, so I wear many hats, and art is very much a tiny sideline thing for me, but I want it to be more than that, which is why I'm here. I live in a little town called Canungra, which is in the scenic rim, which is near the Gold Coast and not far from Ali. Hi, Vicky. We're not far from each other. Look, I work a full-time corporate job. I also have a business as a marriage celebrant, but art is my happy place and it's the thing that fills my cup. So I'm not chasing too many weddings this year because I just don't have time, because my full-time job is very, very full-time. So what I do, my art is the thing that, yeah, as I said, fills my cup, you know, is my anchor. And the one thing I need to do, at least I try to carve out time once or twice a week, which is good. But this is, Ali, I am loving your planning, not just for my art, but for everything. And I've moved, oh my God, I've changed my whole system at work this week. I've got new notebooks. I threw out the old planner. I've started a new one. I've just taken 3 pages of notes about my plans. It's like craziness. But that's, yeah, I'm a chronic note taker. But my question is this, and this is a little bit of me wanting to do things right, but you know, on your little goal thing, which I printed out, so you've got your goal, you've got your action steps, which I totally get. What's the strategy piece? What are you writing in strategy? I know it can change person to person, but I want to get it right.
Yeah. And look, to be honest, my strategy is, why am I doing it? So, you know, like, for example, if I look at start a podcast, why am I doing that? Because I want to grow my membership when the doors open again. I want to learn something new and everything about that's required. And what do I need to do? I need to get 5 episodes recorded. So the action steps are kind of the steps I need to take in order to do that. If I, you know, renamed it, and maybe we do rename it, maybe you guys might go, hey, Ali, don't like strategy there. Let's call it something else. Let's call it why.
Yeah,
Why and how,
why.
or something, right? I can change it. So because I just, you know, I developed those pages. So if we don't like that heading and it doesn't work for us, we can change it.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I actually just wrote on my page, strategy equals why. That's wonderful. And it's that, it's making sure that, yeah, you're on track. I get it. Thank you. That's wonderful.
It's so nice to see you here. Isn't it hot and humid here this morning?
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of you with the geography, Amanda lives in between where I am and Vicky is. We're all in Queensland, pretty much all in a straight line. And Amanda is probably a little bit closer to me than Vicky, because you're only about 40 minutes from me. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Kim, before I come to you, Alex, would you mind just quickly unmuting again and then just introduce yourself to everybody?
Well, I'm Alex. I'm German, but my husband's American. So I've lived in the US for many years, and then we were in Europe for 10 years, and we came back in 2016. And this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. It's in the San Francisco Bay Area. And other than before I got married when I was 23, then I lived in Germany only. But so as a family, we've never lived anywhere longer than here. Because in the past, we moved, 15, 16, 17 times in 20 years. So I don't have a career, because at some point it was like, it's either going to be my husband or me. And I'm like, okay, you do. And my job was moving, the kids moving, us moving to the new house, buying a new house, selling the old house, and all that. And in end of 2017, maybe or so, I was like, okay, I'm getting bored. The kids are getting older, starting middle school, high school. There's free time now and I'm not moving. What can I do? Okay, let's do some art and see if I can connect to people on Instagram. And so I slowly grew my account and started selling some art. And then this year, my husband moved across the country for his job. And so now he commutes from the East Coast to the West Coast every couple of weeks. And that gave me a chance to focus on me, actually. We talk like an hour or two every day on FaceTime, and all the other time last year went into art making. And so this year I sold 60 pieces, and I decided I needed Allie's class on top of some other memberships to put me into gear for hopefully another successful year with a little bit more planning, organization, goal setting, goal achieving. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
that's me.
Thanks, Alex. That's great. Kim, thank you for waiting so patiently. Come off mute and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Kim. I know a lot of the faces on here. We haven't been on Zoom like face to face. And of course I turned my video off, but anyway, so I'm Kim. I live in South Florida. I'm a colorblind artist. I homeschooled my daughter K-12, so she just graduated and she's in college now. So now I have time to kind of focus on my own art career. I did graduate from art school in '97, but then I went straight into teaching. So I never really had the chance to do my own art. So basically, Allie, I have two different questions for you. One on a planning page that you posted and another on something related to selling. So I'm going to ask my planning page first. So you posted a link to a woman who did like an Instagram social media page. Are you still planning on using that in your binder, or did you scrap that for this year when you scrapped your big binder?
Okay, I will completely fess up to you, Kim. So hang on, let me just show you where I pulled this out from. So here's the cover. So it usually sits in there like that, right? This is it, tucked in the side there, folded in half and tucked in the side. That's it.
So the pages are really small.
Yes, because they came out of this, right? So that's a link to her Etsy store for the size. I used personal size because that's what was the size for my ring bind planner. But if you actually go out of that listing and into her page, you'll see that she does them in different sizes. Now, potentially, I could print one of those, go and get a larger size, or make this page larger just on the, when I'm printing it out, and put it in my ring binder. But then that's not with me in the morning when I'm doing my thing. So I am now, for the moment, and let's see how it goes this week, I am literally at the bottom of my pages. Can you see there? I'm writing what I'm posting.
Okay, so let me ask you a side question. Is it possible, one, for you to take a screenshot of that and post that in the group so I can kind of see like how you're utilizing that page? Because it's hard to see on the video. Like you posted
this page?
Right, like how, like what you're actually writing on that, like how you're utilizing it.
Sure. On the page, on the social media planning page. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, because like you posted the screenshots of all the other pages.
If I held that up, so you want me to post a photo of something like this?
Yes, just so I can kind of see like what you're writing and like how you're utilizing it. Because I actually went to her link today and she's actually having a 25% off on those pages. And it's only good for like maybe till tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I will post, I'll take a photo of that, Kim, and pop it up with the link to her store.
Okay. Because if it's possible, like I can probably print it bigger, like if I have the file anyway, and not need to buy a bigger version, I just blow it up, like fit to screen or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so thank you for that. And then my second.
Actually, Kim, before you move on, let me just talk about this page for a minute. What I liked about this page and why I loved using it is because I could write my Instagram strategy at the bottom. There was a section up here where I was keeping a track of who was having art sales for the month. So I could go and find their post about their art sales and share. And Trisha Gillespie, we had one on the 15th of August. So I was able to go and find her page and share. I was keeping a track of my social media each Monday. So followers and what was going on. I only had one page at this point. So one page, just keeping a track of those there. Here I was keeping a track of when I posted and stuck to my strategy. And I actually did a reel challenge during the month of August, and that was the blue. And I just did a quick highlight of the blue there. So if you're doing a challenges, it's a great way to incorporate those into your calendar as well. And on this side, I love that it had the 2 columns. And yes, it worked great for me because of my 2 accounts. So I could keep Alison Lake Art down one side, and then in my later pages, I could keep the Organised Artist on the other side. It worked fantastically, but I'm not carrying this book with me anymore. So this is the only reason I was coming to this book on the daily. So I do love those pages, and they worked really well for me. And yes, Kim, I will make a note to do that now.
Yeah, it'll help me to see, because like I can't read what you have written down on the screen because of lighting. So if I could see it, then it would make sense, like how to do that.
Definitely. And you know, Kim, what I do works for me. You might decide to do it completely differently, and that's cool too. The trick about it is that you're capturing and you're planning, and particularly with social media, you've got all your, you know, you're thinking about what you're planning out for the week. It's done. You don't have to wake up on those days you're due to post and go, oh crap, what am I going to post today?
And that's exactly where I'm and that kind of leads into my second question. So my goal this year is just to sell art in general. Like I'll eventually come up with a number. Last year was a really hard year for me, just in general. So I only really had one mini launch at the end of the year. But is one of the things that you're going to be having any kind of workshops on or anything is how to do an actual launch, like the talking about, like how to talk about your launch in order to sell it? Because I think that is where I'm struggling. Like I can make the art and then I have this art and then I kind of freeze when it comes to the actual selling part. And that is where I'm running into a block.
Yeah. And look, Kim, I intend to do that. And I'll be completely upfront and honest about this. I have to be careful in this space. So Amanda Evanston also talks about the sales of art. And I don't want to, you know, I've got to be careful about what I talk about. I'll talk about what works for me and what I've done in the past. But those of you that are in the Insider Studio, lap everything up. So Amanda's got a sales Zoom coming up in the next week or so. If you're in the Insider Studio, jump on that and watch it also. I guess what I'm saying to you is lap everything up and then do what works for you, right? So, you know, like I do a 30-day lead-in, and is it every day for 30 days? No, it's not. But I've chunked out that 30 days and it will work within my 4-day strategy of posting for Alison Lake Art, and I'll post across those 4 days. I can see your hand, Danny. I'll come to you in 1 second. So yes, I will do that, Kim. You're in the Insider Studio. Are you still in the Insider Studio?
I am. And I do have her Zoom on my calendar, but I have been unable to make any of the art sale Zooms, and they're not recorded. So I can't go back and watch. She doesn't
record her Zooms. No, that's right. And that's it. So yes, it is something that I've been asked to delve into a lot. I used, and Anita, I don't think Anita's on today. I used Anita as a little bit of a guinea pig before I opened the Organised Artist as to the strategy that I use. Would it work for somebody in a short lead up? And I'm talking a week. And we got her very focused and we got her plan set in place, and she sold out her 21 pieces in 2 days. So
do you know, so, all right.
Yes.
Do you know her handle? Because maybe I can just go back and look and kind of
talk about it, Kim. We'll talk about it. But you'll know Anita. She's Anita G_paint, something like that. Let me tell you exactly. Oh, let me tell you exactly. I'll see how clever I was. I might not have been, but one moment.
Or Ally, if you just want to send it to me so we don't take the time now, that's fine too.
She's Anita G. Paint. So it's pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah. But you'll see that there. You won't see the lead up we did to it though, Kim. So we talked quite a bit about that. So you know, we'll do a basic what a launch looks like, and
Okay.
you know, and the steps that help to make a launch successful. But there's more that comes along. It's quite a big piece, Kim, around pricing and all sorts of stuff as well. So it's actually quite an in-depth. It's not really a, you know, an hour Zoom conversation. It is quite an in-depth process. But you know, we'll chunk it down. We'll figure that out along the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Danny.
I wanted
Danny,
to,
stop. Introduce yourself, please.
I am, I'm Danielle. I live in London. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm an artist. I've been an artist for years. I'm also a teacher. I've been a teacher for years as well, and teaching a lot of art. I just sort of vamping myself at the age of 50. I'm also an art psychotherapist. I'm at home now. I'm not working, so I'm setting up a business. And my business deals with selling art, and also by the end of this year, I'll have my own membership with under the name of maybe Danielle Deboulay Traveling Artist. So I'll take people on little adventures, whether it be in London or when I travel and things like that, and sketching.
So Danny, I'm going to stop you there. Danny, it's not going to be by the end of the year. You're going to have this up and running by September, because we will be in person. And girl,
exactly.
Just so we're clear, make that timeline shorter, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, my goals are to get my funnel going, to get a certain amount of people, and most probably launch this membership by March, April. So I'm looking at goals and mindset and how you think of them. So in order to do this project and launch this group and to sell my art, I have to do a lot of research. And research can give you a bit of guilt on social media, because you're going into other groups. You're going down what we call rabbit holes. And you can spend quite a few hours on rabbit holes, whether it be, oh, I'm going to go and see what this watercolor artist is doing, or I'm going to go see this book, I'm going to listen to this, and da, 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 da. And you end up spending, well, if I was to tell you how many hours, I'll compare how much you and I do and how much I do in the middle of the
DM me later,
night.
Danny, I'm interested.
So, but I'm wondering if I put a goal of research and I say, okay, I'm going to do a bit of networking. So I'm going to go into this group and check what they're doing. And I'm going to go and do this. And then I'm going to go and research this and this and this. So I'm allowing myself time blocking each day to do that, whether it be while I'm having my cup of coffee, or I'm taking a break, or I'm waiting. Well, I don't have kids, but it could be if you're waiting for a child or a grandchild or something. Or I'm on a train. I'm on trains a lot. So would that be sort of the goal would be?
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't even set a goal around it, Danny. I would just time block the time out. So you've got the time in your calendar, and it might be, you know, you're catching the train into London because you're going to go to an art museum, because you're going to go and take a squillion photos and post them up for us so that you can share it with the world. So while you're on while you're sitting on the train, it might be that you're going to research. So, you know, that's train travel, that's research time. I wouldn't feel guilt about it. It's actually really good use of your time. Fantastic multitasking. Yeah.
Yes, I think that huge.
Can I just say that I know this because I was starting to go down this rabbit hole. Don't get caught up in doing all of the research and then not doing the doing, right? It's really easy to get caught up in the scroll and the research, and then you don't actually do the tasks. So I challenge you, don't go down that rabbit hole, because it's really easy to do. What it does is it makes you think, I'm not ready yet. To be honest, the best time to do it was yesterday. The second best time to do it is today. Yeah, you're hearing me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because you
yes.
are good enough, right? Don't, because Yeah. And look, I'll be completely honest with you, and I would love to take some of you guys that are interested in doing a membership on the journey that I went on in literally a month from, am I doing this, starting in an Instagram page, to here we are, like literally 2 months ago. This was not even on my radar. So, and would I have done it differently if I had more time? Hell yes, but I didn't. And I just thought, what have I got to lose? I'll just do it and figure it out as we go along. And that's, you know, and all you guys, like we will figure it out as we go along. And my biggest, the biggest thing that I focus on is making sure that I provide you guys with a value, because the moment I stop doing that is the moment I stop becoming relevant. And I know that I'm competing with your time as all of your other priorities are. And so that's kind of what you've got to keep in mind, Danny, when you do your membership, is you are competing. So who are you competing against? You're competing against everybody else that takes up somebody's time and money. So Danny, the best time for you to start was yesterday, just so we're clear on that. Maya, you've got your hand raised. She's going to
Hi,
stop,
yes.
aren't you, Danny?
Sorry, let me get my
Maya,
hand
do you
up.
want to introduce yourself and tell us where you live? Because I'd love some
Sure.
of your cold snow right now.
Oh, I'd love some of your warm weather. I was so happy when the sun came out. I live in Oakbank, Manitoba, Canada. It is not north, but comparatively speaking, pretty north. We have winter, largest 10 months a year is the joke, but kind of not the joke, because we've had snow in June before.
What
And
temperature
early
are you
winters.
at today? What temperature?
Today, well, actually, the last couple of days has been beautiful. We've had fog at night, so we've had beautiful hoarfrost in all the trees, which means they all look like they've been dipped in powdered sugar, which, you know, is generally reserved in books for Christmas time, but out here it happens after Christmas because the weather gets a bit warmer. But it's gone down to -40 this winter Celsius, which I think actually balances out with Fahrenheit at that temperature. So it's been pretty cold. Anyway, so you're indoors a lot, so it's perfect for making art. So, which relates to my question, haha. I make a lot of art. So my concern and question in 2023, as much as we kind of affirm for each other that talking about your sale is necessary, not everybody is seeing you say that. I have a big collection coming up for January, but I wanted to keep like a micro collection in February, because I know myself, I'm going to make art, I'm going to sit on it, it's going to cost me money. So do you feel that large collection, small collection, large collection?
Oh, you just went on mute, Maya. You just muted yourself, I think. There you go. Yeah.
Is too much?
No. So I know your art intimately. I have a Maya Larson wall dedicated to Maya's art in my studio. Over there. Maya, knowing the way you work and how prolific you are, I would have, and I've been thinking about you a lot. You have been on my mind actually this week. I would do your focused collection as a collection. And then all of the other things you do, I would love you to have like a Maya special collection, or an intimate collection, or a something that takes up that other, that's not part of your large collection, but it's all of those beautiful pieces that you put your heart and your soul into, that are those, you know, the one-offs, the twos, the threes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that beautiful, where you put your heart and soul in, it's just those wonderful pieces that pour out of you. They are really intimate and special to you. And I would love you to celebrate those as a, you know, an intimate collection, or a, you know, let's think of a name for it. And all of those pieces fall into that category. So it might be 1 month you're doing your large collection, and then the next month you're launching your intimate, and you just alternate those.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I don't want to
wonderful work
for time, right?
Would you sort of do it on, like, you'd have to get your customers sort of accustomed to like a routine, like the first Friday of the month, or so we'd know to wait, okay, we have to check on that date. you know?
Yeah.
Well, and I felt like the major collections are a higher price point. They just are. They're
That's
more
right.
time consuming,
Yeah.
larger. So my micro collections would be smaller, a little less pricey, so that the folks who maybe aren't able to jump in on the larger price tags when they come can still
Yeah.
enjoy a piece on
Yeah.
a smaller scale. You know,
Well,
that doesn't,
and
because shipping is
anybody else?
$20 no matter where I go. So whatever I
Yeah.
sell has to be above that cost. So
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. I love that idea, Maya. And can I get you, and Danny, correct me if I'm wrong here, does Emily Powell record her sales on Instagram? Does she record those? The lives that she does?
I'm not sure.
No, I don't actually.
Oh.
I don't think she does actually.
Okay, Maya, keep an eye out
Mhm.
on Emily Powell's account, who is the English artist. Many of us have got, well, actually I don't, but many of you have got
I like her
book.
for her teacups, but I know you guys have mentioned her architecture. Yeah.
Yes. So she does some wonderful, oh no, that's Liz Steele.
Oh, my bad. Emily Powell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Emily
Writing it
Powell,
down.
she's an English artist. And she does wonderful live sales. Now, she is really interesting to watch in action because actually her husband helps her out. So she will talk about a piece and everything about the piece. So you build this emotional connection. And then as she's doing it, he's listing it for sale and it sells out. So imagine if you were doing that with your intimate pieces and those you were talking about why and how and what it meant, and because you've got such a wonderful philosophy around those. Danny?
I think another thing about Emily and another thing about selling is the stories connected to your
Yeah.
piece.
Yes.
So like Emily will come on and give you a story.
Yes.
And
I'll
you
be
suddenly
honest,
like
that's
look at it in a
secret.
whole
Her
different
stories about
way.
the piece itself.
Yeah. And the storytelling is the secret to my success. And it was the secret to Anita's success, is building a good story. And I know when I post on my post, the girls I'm talking about, and I call them a name and give them a little bit of a story about, you know, she's not happy because somebody came and stole the lemons off the lemon tree. And so now she's got none for a gin. You know, when I kind of do those sorts of stories, everybody loves them and I get the most comments because I'm just building a little quirky, funny story about. So the art of selling is definitely in the storytelling.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
And
Thank
you know
very
that, Maya. You know that. Yeah. Yeah.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
Hi, I'm Drew.
Hi, Drew.
I'm from outside Syracuse, New York. I live in a little town called Baldwinsville. And I missed last week because my fourth grandbaby was born. And Friday came and I don't even remember Friday. So anyway, he's doing great. But I wanted to, I don't necessarily have a question. I just have a couple comments because I'm so inspired by everybody sharing everything. And especially you saying this didn't work. Because I gotta tell you, when you started showing all those books and all those pages, I'm like, I'm just overwhelmed already. I'm just overwhelmed already. And but I think
this conversation a week ago,
and I
Drew.
know, pardon me?
Why didn't we have this conversation a week ago? You could have saved me some heartache.
Yeah, I have spent tons of money too, but I have always had to have a wall calendar with the month because I have 4 adult children and I can't get past it. I just can't get past it. And it's become very important now that I've signed up for this and another year-long art class that I've never taken before because my husband's been working from home since the pandemic. He's supposed to be retired, but yeah, maybe that'll happen this year. I didn't start painting till the beginning of the pandemic. I had done all kinds of other art and been very creative, I will say, especially, raising 4 kids and one has multiple disabilities. And but I'll tell you what, there were some dark times the beginning of the pandemic because my one son is in a group home and it was just hell. Let's just put it out there on the table. And he's doing marvelously now, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to step into painting and let's see what happens. And I haven't hesitated to incorporate, collage or whatever else. And I just love taking all these different classes. But yeah, I don't think you're ever too old to start this. I'm in my early 60s and loving it. And what's really wonderful too is to get the feedback from my adult children. Just saying, Mom, I think you're finally getting in a groove. It's so neat to see this. And but yeah, you all are just inspiring, and I'm looking forward to trying to sell something on Instagram. I have stuff in two different shops, one in Rochester, New York, and one in Cortland. But I'd like to do some online selling, and I'm going to have to start wallpapering with my art because I'm getting quite a whole collection to do. But you know what? If that happens, who cares? My 2.5-year-old grandson ended up naming my I've turned a spare little room into my art room. But he was spending the night. He lives in Minnesota. And I said, where are all your toys? I got up with him one morning. He goes, Mom, in the art garage. Like he couldn't put a whole sentence together. So my art room has become my art garage. And it's just, it just makes my heart happy to say it. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I love it, Joy. And it's so nice to meet you face to face and to see your face after talking to you online for so long.
Oh, yes. And I could not find my hand to raise, and I cannot find the chat box, but I am going to have to leave. So I'm glad I was able to.
Yeah, it was so lovely to meet you. Yeah. Now, Debbie, I'm sorry, did you have your hand raised earlier, or did I just dream that up? Debbie Ingram. You're on mute, hun. There you go.
But maybe you were reading my mind because
yes, I must have been, because I wrote your name down. I thought I'd seen your hand up and I didn't want to forget you.
I was probably moving and I'm just multitasking. But I missed last week and I'm slow to jump on this. Where would you suggest I start to kind of catch up?
Get a planner and start using it. Essentially, is it. Get a planner or print the pages that I put up last week, maybe just slightly over a week ago. You'll find them in the file section of the Facebook page. You could print those and give a start on those to see what works for you for a couple of weeks. But planners will start getting cheap now. So, I would literally buy a planner book, and then just something with a layout that you think is going to work for you. Like my pages are blank. There's nothing on them and I just turn them into what I want them to be. So yeah, just literally buy a planner and start using it, because it's by using you'll figure out what works for you. And then you can start chunking out those times and then figuring out where you spend your time, setting your goals, and then knowing where you've got time in your week to take those action steps.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Yeah, but ask any questions, jump in and don't hesitate to post and ask any questions if you get stuff, or just message me. Happy to help you out anytime either. Any of you just message me.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody have anything else before we sign off? No? All right, well, I'm going to stop recording now.